I would like to know what's going on inside the building, and I would check that monthly and say, hey, what are they doing? And that could generate student interest into, oh, they're doing something around the Forsyth galleries, that I'll be excited to see that when it's done. So, I mean, I'm for this just because this is good business practice. Now I don't understand why this doesn't get done in the first place, and I yield to Chair Dick.
I just want to say, basically, in regards to this whole thing, cities do this, states do this, in regards to any construction project they ever do. If you're going to build a highway, if you're going to build, a new city hall, you are required, if you receive tax dollars, to give updates on a regular basis to the taxpayers, which more or less is what we are to this building. We are paying through our fees, so in a sense we are paying taxes to see this building get built. So we deserve to know what's going on. Now we're not requiring like city governments or state governments to do where we have a town hall meeting every month to give us updates. All we're asking for is a quick little type on a website that already exists, can be easily updated and renovated to give this information out. It's required at the cities and the states. Why not require it at the university?
Madam Speaker, I move for previous questions.
All right, thank you very much. Moved, seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, thank you very much. We'll now move into a period of voting with Mr. City Speaker Holman.
Chair Sim. 4. Chair Wilson.
4.
Chair Davis.
4.
Chair White. Chair Fields.
4.
Chair Robertson. 4. Robertson. He needs to be a chair somewhere. Senator Holstrom. Senator Hellstrom. Senator Oakenberg.
4.
Senator Pulliam.
4.
Senator Thornburg.
4.
Senator Atnett.
4.
Senator Sennin. Senator Sennin. Senator Meek Beck.
4.
Senator Smith. Senator Smith. Senator Thorne. Senator Thorne. Senator Davenport.
4.
Senator Marinko. 4. Pardon me. Senator Caroline Bowen.
4.
Senator Coleman. Senator Coleman. Senator Yagi.
4.
Senator Whittington. Senator Whittington. Senator Strickland.
4.
Senator Scott Bowman.
4.
Senator Smith. Senator Smith. Senator Russo.
4.
Senator Petit.
4.
Senator Vejez.
4.
Senator Walker. Senator Walker. Senator Heil. 4. Senator Usher.
4.
Senator Cagle.
4.
Senator Lacey. Senator Lacey. Senator Bell.
4.
Senator Fitz.
4.
Senator Caperton.
4.
Senator Sims.
4.
Senator Thomas. Senator Thomas. Senator Russell. Senator Russell. Senator Tucker.
4.
Senator Griffin. Senator Griffin. Senator Sudarana.
4.
Senator Hassan.
4.
Senator Becerra. Senator Becerra. Senator Ibrahim. Senator Ibrahim. Senator Albright.
4.
Senator Thompson.
4.
Senator Herman.
4.
Senator Sanders. Senator Sanders. Senator Slack. Senator Slack.
4.
Senator Rogers.
4.
Senator Bowler.
4.
Senator Frankie.
4.
Senator Horn.
4.
Senator Humanek. Senator Humanek. Senator Egerbrecht.
4.
Senator Timmerman. Senator Timmerman. Senator Messer.
4.
Senator McDuffie.
4.
Senator Parsons.
4.
Chair Grosvenor.
4.
Senator Rhodes. Senator Rhodes. Senator Anderson.
4.
Senator Hollis. Senator Hollis. Senator Markowski.
4.
Senator Bradley.
4.
Senator Crumpley.
4.
Senator Graff.
4.
Senator Ledger.
4.
Senator Spartan.
4.
With the bill authors of SB 09 at 31, all night and weekend dining options bill, please come up to the front.
This is pretty straightforward. All this is since the MSC closed down and Rumors is now not a dining option for a night, there's only one place on campus that's open until midnight, and I believe that's Bernie's is the only place on Central Campus that is open until midnight. And we would like options for college students that are obviously going to be up in the wee hours of the morning doing homework, and also need places to eat on weekends that are not off campus. I mean, who wants to go and eat somewhere off campus right after Northgate lets out and there are drunk drivers on the road? I mean, let's be perfectly honest. So we're asking dining services to explore ways to expand their hours at dining facilities to accommodate all-night dining facilities, which is done at other college campuses around the nation, and to expand their weekend programs. That's basically the gist of it. Anybody else want to add anything?
Sure. as you can see in these pictures of Bernie's, these are about 11:30 p.m. There's quite a demand for food late at night. I mean, there's 50, 60, maybe 100 people in that place. We go to Whataburger after the Senate meetings at 3 a.m. There's a lot of people in there, even at 4 a.m. So I don't think this would be, asking someone to hire employees to sit there and watch a clock tick. I think there would be a lot of people out there using these locations. And we're not asking for a lot, we're not asking for a decent 24 hours. Maybe the pizza place in the Commons and Bernie's on North Side.